in the silent chill of a Wyoming dawn, when the sky glowed like a slowly burning ember and the frost on the prairie, grass shimmered like scattered diamonds, Amelia Hart found herself gripping tightly onto the weathered saddle horn of a massive chestnut stallion, her heartbeat pounding louder than the distant rumble of the mountains. And from the very first breath of that morning, she knew something was different, something far heavier than the boxes she had come to help carry from her late uncle's ranch, something she could sense but not yet name. And that is when the rancher, tall, calm-eyed, and steady as a granite ridge, turned toward her with a soft, grounding voice and said, "It's too heavy. Just hold on tight." A line so gentle yet so strangely urgent that Amelia felt a ripple of emotion stir deep in her chest. Long before, she understood why he was looking at her not with worry, but with a kind of quiet reassurance that warmed her more than the rising sun ever could. And within those first fleeting seconds, the moment wrapped itself around her like an early morning haze, drawing her into a story she never expected, a story that carried the scent of pinewood, old earth, and truths buried under years of hurt. And as the stallion shifted beneath her, Amelia felt the emotion creep in, like she was balancing on something fragile, something alive, something waiting to change her life forever. The rancher's name was Cole Maddox, a Wyoming-born cowboy with the kind of presence that made the world slow down when he walked by. Not because he was intimidating, but because he carried the air of someone who had lived enough pain to understand the value of gentleness. He had seen storms, literal and emotional, yet he stood there with a steadiness that could calm a frightened colt. And as Amelia clung to the saddle, confused, cold, and slightly breathless, Cole simply nodded toward the weight behind her, still hidden from her sight, and said again, "You're all right. Just breathe." She tried, but her chest tightened, not from fear, but from a strange sadness she didn't expect to feel on this ranch. She had not visited in over 12 years, the ranch once owned by her Uncle Raymond, a man who had loved her dearly, but from whom life had slowly pulled her away. Memories hit her in fragments, his laugh, the smell of leather in the barn, the stories he used to tell her about wild horses and second chances. And all at once she wished she had come sooner, before the silence of death had settled on these fields. Cole stepped closer and reached for the reins with a slow, calming movement that felt like he was giving her time to understand the weight beneath her. And when Amelia finally looked down, carefully, cautiously, she froze, breath catching in her throat, for under her, wrapped securely in a thick quilt and tucked gently against the saddle, was a newborn foal, no more than hours old, trembling but alive, its tiny chest rising and falling with delicate desperation, its coat still damp from birth. And in that moment something inside Amelia cracked open, something she had locked away ever since losing her parents at 16, something tender and fragile she believed no longer existed within her. Cole's voice softened even further. "Found him by the creek. His mama didn't make it through the night. He needs warmth, steady weight, and calm breathing to survive the morning." And just like that, the emotional moment hit like a wave of warmth and ache together, because this tiny life was trusting her without even knowing her name, clinging to her body heat the way she had once clung to her uncle's flannel jacket the night she learned she was an orphan, with the stallion's slow stride and the soft snow crunching beneath its hooves. Cole walked beside her, guiding the rhythm, his shoulder brushing lightly against her knee. Now and then, as they moved through the quiet, frost-touched landscape, he explained gently, as if speaking to both her and the trembling foal, how the fragile ones sometimes needed a human heartbeat to make it through the cold, how nature wasn't cruel, but simply honest, and how sometimes life placed a weight on your shoulders not to burden you, but to lead you somewhere you needed to go. Amelia felt tears warm the corners of her eyes, not from sadness alone, but from the strange sense of purpose settling inside her as the foal nudged softly against her ribs. And Cole noticed, though he said nothing, just walked with that patient cowboy stride that made a person feel safe without needing to ask for it. As they reached the old barn, her uncle's barn, still standing strong despite the weathered planks, Cole guided her toward a stall already prepared with fresh hay and warm blankets. He steadied her leg as she dismounted, his touch warm through her coat sleeve, then lifted the foal with a gentleness that didn't match his rugged strength and placed it carefully into the bedding. Amelia knelt beside the tiny creature, brushing a trembling hand over its soft muzzle, and something inside her heart shifted, something she knew would never shift back. Cole leaned against the rail and watched her with a thoughtful look, the kind that wasn't invasive but deeply observant. And he finally said the words that sealed the moment in her soul. "He made it because you were there. Some lives just need someone to hold on long enough for hope to take root." And Amelia, swallowing the ache rising in her throat, whispered, "I needed this more than I knew." Over the next hours, as sunlight filtered through the barn slats and warmed the hay, she and Cole worked side by side, feeding the foal tiny sips of milk, warming its fragile body, whispering to it with the same gentle encouragement Cole had used on her. And with every heartbeat of the newborn horse, Amelia felt pieces of her life quietly clicking back into place. The way the ranch had once been her safe haven, the way she had once belonged somewhere. When the foal finally stood on wobbly legs and leaned against her for balance, Amelia's tears fell freely, this time not from grief, but from healing she didn't know she could still receive. Cole rested a hand on her shoulder, steady and warm, and said softly, "Raymond would have been proud of you. You've got his kind of heart." She smiled, a deep, grateful, soul-level smile, as warmth filled the barn. The foal breathed steady beside her, and a new chapter of her life unfolded in the quiet strength of a Wyoming morning, where pain met purpose and loss finally found a place to rest, leaving her with a truth she would carry forever. Sometimes the heaviest things in life are the ones that teach you where you truly belong, and sometimes all it takes to save a life, your own included, is to hold on tight until the cold breaks, and the light finally rises, just like it did that unforgettable day on her uncle's ranch.